This is Micah Thomas, and you're watching Time to Connect.
Hey, Micah Thomas, how are you, man?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking the time to connect. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet, man. And where are you? Are you in New York?
Yes, I'm in New York. I'm in New York.
Did you? I know you grew up in Columbus, Ohio, right?
That's right.
Did you first move to New York to go to Juilliard,
Yep, that's why I moved here in 2015.
and you've been there ever since?
Yes, for the most part, I moved back to Ohio for about a year, maybe a little over a year when the pandemic started. But other than
Wow.
that, I've been here the whole time.
What's it like living in New York, man? I've been going there for 50 years and love the place and try to get there a couple times every year, but I would imagine living there could be a challenge. Is it tough? What's it
You
like
are
being for
correct. You
for a guy
are
from Columbus?
abs- Oh, you're absolutely correct. Uh, yeah, you're absolutely correct. Things are very expensive, very expensive.
Yeah.
Finding a place to live is a challenge. Yeah, yeah. Everything is food. You know, it takes a lot of money, and
Yeah.
you know, and what I do doesn't necessarily pay as well as certain other careers all the time. So,
Well, hopefully, you're still pretty young. Hopefully, I mean, and you're going gangbusters for your age, man. And so
thank
hopefully,
you,
eventually that will turn around. I definitely want to talk about the new piano solo record, gorgeous record.
thank you.
Um, you bet. And the Tide record, as well as your work with Immanuel Wilkins Quartet, so many other things. But maybe let's start with a little bit of personal kind of history. So you grew up in Columbus. What were you like as a kid?
I was pretty weird. Uh, I was never diagnosed, but we're pretty sure I had like mild autism. I probably still have it, but I think I've probably learned my way out of certain behaviors. But I was watching, yeah, I'm on Instagram and I was watching this video of like signals that your child has autism, and I was like, hey,
That's
I did
me.
all of that. so
Yeah, yeah.
so I was very weird. I think I started playing music before I was really talking. Um, and then my mom was the first person who really started teaching me piano, and from there, you know, that's kind of how it started. I was a pretty obsessive kid. I would go through phases for a long time. I was really into Elvis Presley for 1 month. That's and
Wow.
my parents were really annoyed by it because I would just, and then right after Elvis, I think I switched to dinosaurs and I just was reading about dinosaurs. But so I would just be very obsessive, and I'm not that different now, to be honest. Uh,
You know, it's really strange that you brought up Elvis because, and I'll explain this a little later, but I actually today, thinking about this interview, for some reason Elvis popped in my mind, which I have no idea why I would connect you with
uh,
Elvis. That's really strange.
that's funny.
There's a whole lot more going on in this world than I think we realize. Um, so you started playing piano at age 2?
Yeah, H2.
Wow. And was the term prodigy thrown at you at all?
It was. I'm really grateful that I no longer get slung with that title anymore, but it was there for a long time.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about raw technical talent, I mean, I've never been as good as. I mean, when I went to Juilliard, I immediately realized that I will never be on the level of the classical pianists there or in the world. Never going to be like their attention to detail, the amount of time they spend in the practice room, just how they attack the instrument. I was like, this is
Mm.
not. There's different techniques. I mean, no one can do what Cecil Taylor or Thelonious Monk did. I mean, they have their own techniques, but the technique that has been developed in that specific tradition of playing is formidable. I can never do that stuff myself.
But those guys don't do a whole lot of improvisation, do they?
No, no, we all got different stuff we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, did you feel pressure? I'm just curious. I'm always curious when I talk to someone who showed great talent at something when they were really young, how that, how that, what kind of pressure, in other words, was it always like something hanging over your head that this is something you have to do because you're really good at it? Or did you feel like, oh, I still have a choice. I could do other things if I want to?
And this is one of the most fortunate things in my life. I'm so blessed that, um, yeah, first of my parents did a really good job of not pressuring me. And second of all, this was always kind of what I wanted to do. I'm very thankful that there wasn't really any, and I know plenty of other people that are, I know plenty of other musicians that are more talented than me that weren't, that got more pressure and weren't able to deal with it. So I'm just very grateful that, I consider my love for the music higher than my talent. And I think that's what's most important. That's why I'm still doing it. And that's why I haven't gotten dramatically worse over any given period of time. That might sound
Yeah,
arrogant or something, but like I've never gotten like, I don't want to do this anymore. I kept going, and that's because I love it, not because I'm
that's
talented.
great. That's fantastic. Was there a moment? Do you remember any moments when you said, "Yes, I'm going to be a professional musician. This is going to be my"?
Yeah.
Would it just gradually happen, or were there specific moments?
Well, the first time it actually occurred to me that I could do it for a living was when I went to the Vail Jazz Workshop in either 2012 or 2013. I don't know if you know about this camp, but John Clayton runs it every year, and Howard Stone, who recently passed away, is kind of the guy who lived in Vail, who's kind of behind it, and kind of started it with John Clayton. Is That's my understanding, uh, and that was the first time. Yeah, that was the first time I was around a bunch of young musicians who loved the stuff as much as I did, and
Uh-huh.
who could like, yeah, kick my butt a little bit on it. I mean,
Uh-huh.
uh yeah, I was out, just even being there, just like even having long conversations about music was like, I've never done this before. How do you talk about music? Like, this has always just been a me thing. And then I met Sullivan Fortner there, who is still one of my heroes today. uh I met Lewis Nash there, incredible drummer. I met Wycliffe Gordon. I met John Clayton there. I met uh Tia Fuller. I met so many amazing musicians. And I was just kind of the mind of, oh man, there's a whole ecosystem, there's a whole community of people,
Mhm.
and that's, yeah, I love the fact that there's a community. I think that's what got me excited. It's like, okay, there's other people doing this, and we're all challenging each other. I want to be involved in this, and clearly they're out here and they're getting paid, so that's good too.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah,
Actually, a couple other people I've interviewed had almost the same answer, so I think that community is really pretty
it's
critical.
special, man. It's
Yeah,
really special, really
yeah.
special.
And and when you were a kid, what were you listening to jazz pretty early? Were you listening to all kinds of music? You went through an Elvis phase, you said. What else? What were you listening to when you were young?
uh the Elvis phase didn't last very long, but I was really into blues music.
Hmm.
um I was really into, my dad had a lot of Miles records and a lot of Train records and a lot of Monk records. And he was a classical music collector.
Gotcha.
So we had a lot of Bach running in the house, and my mom really likes Motown music. She really likes soul music.
Hmm.
Uh so kind of, oh, and my dad's Indian, so a lot of Indian classical music,
Hmm.
Hindustani and Carnatic, and a lot of, I don't know how to pronounce it. Ravi Shankar,
Hmm.
Shankar, and Zakir Hussain,
Yeah,
Hari Prasad Chaurasia, all those guys. Like a
yeah,
lot of that. So a lot of different music. For a while, I was in the prog rock phase for a year.
really.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different music going on in my house. Thankfully.
Right on. And who? Let me ask it this way: When did you? Do you remember when you got introduced to Monk? Or was it from a pretty young
No, I
age?
don't. It's pretty young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Monk for a minute?
Yeah.
Because he's probably my favorite of all time, and I'm a little bit
Good
obsessed with him.
choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
And imagine that you're teaching me, and I'm one of your students, and I say, "Hey, I don't get this Monk thing. What is it about Monk? Why is everybody so knocked out by Monk? What? How would you explain that from the perspective of a teacher trying to help someone understand why Monk is so important?"
Wow. That's a tough question. I'll answer it. Just give me a second. Let me think about this.
Sure.
Well, man, he's the we could talk about the compositions. The compositions are I mean, there's so many things I could talk about. The voicings that he gets are so specific. The effect that he gets from the voicings are so specific. No one can duplicate them. It's funny. Everyone thinks a lot of people think they're copying Monk, but no one can even get 50% close. The voicings that he's figured out, the way he's manipulated. I mean, he was one of the founders of what we call bebop harmony, but his own personification, like his own idiosyncratic way of approaching it, is so specific. Like I've spent some time analyzing some songs. Like I did some analysis of Ruby My Dear.
Yeah, and that's on the new piano solo record.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, this guy is just operating on levels upon levels upon levels that most people can't tell, but they could feel it because it's so specific and it's an effect that can only be made by him. His rhythm is incredible. I've actually taken a lot from the way he the rhythm of his solos. He's one of the guys that I've really emulated in that regard. Yeah, the compositions and the rhythm, and also like the melody. He's really influenced by Teddy Wilson, and they both have this kind of thing where the melody twists and turns in these perfect way, and like at the perfect moments. Even though Monk is like angular, he's also like a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Like I hear it. I don't hear it as ugly. I hear it as very perfectionist and very detail oriented, and like also just funky.
Yes.
Like, so funky. Like there's Body and Soul. No. Yeah, Body and Soul, his solo version of Body and Soul. There's like one part I'm obsessed with near the end where he's playing something that sounds like from the islands. Like it sounds like a reggae rhythm or so. It's just funk. Like his stuff is so funky.
Yeah.
So man, there's nothing. He's perfect. Carla Bley said like Thelonious Monk is a perfect pianist, and that's kind of the. Yeah, I feel similarly about Monk that I feel about Mozart. Like very perfect music, but Monk is like so himself in a way that's irreplaceable.
Yeah, and it's so unique.
It's impossible to. It's only the only way. Like it's hard to break down what it's only sound. You can only. It's only the sound that can represent him. But yeah, Monk is so incredible.
And you always know it's Monk. There's something so unique.
No question.
I forget who it was. I think it was one of the sax players that played with him, I think, but I'm not sure who it was, who said, you know, Monk, there should be a different category of music called Monk's music.
Yeah.
That he's kind of on his own there.
Right.
Nobody.
That's one of the reasons why jazz, like how can you call Thelonious Monk's music jazz music in the same way that John Coltrane's music is jazz music?
Yeah.
This is just John Coltrane. There's no other way to describe it. Like this is only John. Like what? This is not the same type. I mean, obviously they're coming from a tradition, but this is Thelonious Monk. There's no other way to. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, speaking of tradition and you know, standing on the shoulders of these giants, I'm curious. Are you thinking? This may be something you don't even think about, but there does seem to be a lot of pretty young, really brilliant jazz folks coming on the scene now.
I agree.
Absolutely. Your quartet with Immanuel Wilkins, amazing right there. Joel Ross, JD Beck and Domi, you know, and there's so many. I just think in terms of how will we look back historically at this time, and you know, it's easy. Hindsight's 2020, and you see that bebop and you see the hard bop, and then you saw the fusion happen and kind of in the 70s, and the way Miles went and Chick Corea and those guys. Is there going to be is there some way that we're going to look at your generation as changing things, or is it really just carrying on the tradition, or is that even a fair question?
Yeah. I think that what I like that we're doing, I like how my generation is synchronizing influences. I feel like we're very free with how we can draw from Louis Armstrong and Charlie Parker and Weather Report and John Coltrane equally. I like how we're excited to do it in the same way that I see a lot of the old masters. Like when I see Billy Hart play and when I see Victor Lewis play, And when I saw Billy Kay play, he anyway, whenever I see that generation play, they're just having fun. Like you could tell
Yeah.
these people invented this music and they're doing it because they just want to play it. Like it's there isn't the same baggage attached as it is for, you know, for some other people. Like it's just, man, we're just creating. And I feel like we're getting to a similar thing. That's what I really like.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I think me and Immanuel and Joe and everybody, we're still pretty young and we're still in the process of forming our voice. So I don't think I can't speak for them. For myself, I have not gotten to the point where, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever get to the point where I know what I'm doing in a historical context. I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah. So I have no idea, but we're all still developing, you know. Immanuel and I are still, you know, we still talk to each other like we're students. Like we're still like, oh man, we got to figure this out. We got to get this better.
Wow.
This was cool. This was cool. This was good. This was not good. You sounded good here. Like, you know what? I wanted to do this, but now I kind of want to do this instead. You know, so we're not thinking about. I'm not thinking about. I mean, he might be. He's a really smart guy, so maybe he is. But I'm not thinking about a lot of stuff besides the present.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Yeah, I know you meant haven't gotten to the place where you know what you're doing in terms of historical significance, but it reminded me of I'm going to point to him here, Bill Frisell, who is another one of my heroes, and he said over and over many times that when he likes to be in that place playing where he has really no idea what he's doing, that he has no clue what's coming next, that state of maybe that's cliche, but the way he has said it is pretty powerful.
No, I agree. Like sometimes, like I have a few students in New School, and sometimes we talk about what it means to have your own voice. And I feel like when you're being yourself, you're not analyzing yourself. Same with playing. When you're playing the way you are, you can't look at yourself. Like when I listen back to myself, I'm like, man, I'm not in control of how I'm playing.
Right.
To a very fundamental degree. Like I'm not in control of my personality. I didn't create this. So yeah, I absolutely agree.
When you're playing and it's really going well, do you achieve that flow state people talk about in terms of it's almost like you disappear?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just it's kind of weird. It's hard to talk about this, but that's a pretty magical thing, isn't it?
It is. And I'm in the even more lucky position where it's almost becoming normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with it becoming normal, like I'll be going in and out of flow on a very a very frequent basis sometimes when I'm playing. So it's like I'll be in flow for 20 seconds and then I'll be out of flow for 10 seconds and then I'll get back in.
Yeah.
And then there are like in between flow states. Like I think there's like a 70% flow state. Like and then sometimes I get the 95%. And then I'll feel it when it feels like my body's levitating. But sometimes it's just a very simple presence. So yeah, I feel it, but it's magic, but it's not the same magic everyone thinks it is. It can become a normal part of, but it's what's so addicting about playing music. It's why people become so religious about it.
Right. So who are your piano heroes? Obviously Monk was one. Bill Evans. Who are some of the people who you just kind of hold up on that pedestal as being the great piano players of all time?
Yeah, Monk and Bill Evans are great. I love them both. Have been very influenced by them. I mean, Teddy Wilson. I'm a nut for Teddy Wilson. I follow the Barry Harris stuff. Like that's if there's a theory I subscribe to more than any other theory, it's the Barry Harris theory. People that are living right now that I love.
Yeah,
that I think will be considered the greats whenever it's considered appropriate will be Sullivan Fortner, Jason Moran, David Varese, Craig Taborn. There's I mean, I'm gonna leave it. And then back to, I mean, I'm just hopping around. I really love Andrew Hill. I love Paul Bley, Bud Powell. Those are some of the people that have really inspired me. Cecil Taylor, I really love Cecil Taylor. Rand Blake. Yeah, just a ton.
Man, I'm loving the stuff Gerald Clayton's doing these days too.
Gerald Clayton is man. Gerald Clayton makes me feel like I don't know what the piano is. Like that dude's understanding of the instrument is awe-inspiring. Like he can like play one note like 30 different dynamics, and he can play the sustain pedal on like 6 different. I mean, I don't know if I'm right. This is just what I'm seeing. He can play that with a, he can use the sustain pedal like in 6 different levels or something like that. Like it's like when I was watching him, I was like, man, the amount of control while being so relaxed is just infuriating. He's so good.
Yeah, but amazing to watch, man. Well, you've
Yeah.
played with a lot of great artists, Joshua Redman and
Yeah.
Clayton and so many others. Who's someone you have not played with that is around right now that you'd like to?
Brian Blade. I want to play with Brian Blade.
Okay. The word's out, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on the show, actually. I'm hoping to
Good.
get him. That's a good answer for sure.
Yeah.
Now, this one, I don't know if this is going to be really hard or really easy for you. Just by some sort of magic, you can go back and play with anyone from the past. You know, maybe just for a night or something. Who are you going to play with? It could be anybody.
Wow. I'll give you a really short list.
Mhm.
Louis Armstrong,
Mhm.
Elvin Jones. Let's leave it at Louis Armstrong and Elvin Jones.
Can't complain with that. That's
Yeah.
great. So
and I'm sorry, Scott LaFaro. I would have to play with Scott LaFaro.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah, man, that Evans trio with Scott LaFaro and
I listen to that one album all the time, the Vanguard one, and Paul Motion.
Paul Motion, right? Yeah, incredible.
I'm a big fan of Paul Motion too. I listen to a lot
indeed,
of Paul Motion.
indeed. Have you seen that documentary?
I have not seen, man.
There's a documentary that's easily obtained about Paul, and it's terrific. There's some great scenes at the Village Vanguard and whatnot. But so let's talk just for a minute about your new record, piano solo. Again, beautiful record of standards. What made you decide after making that trio record? What made you decide to do a solo record?
Because LP 345 Records hit me up a week before and said, "Hey, do you want to do something?" And I said, "Yeah." That's all.
Yeah,
that's how it happened.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I always this is probably not a fair question. I was going to ask you, what do you think Monk would think about your rendition of "Ruby, My Dear"?
Oh yeah, man, that's a fair question.
Okay.
I hope he would like it. I
Yeah.
have no idea though. I have no idea though. I could see him being like, he messed that stuff up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Not as bad as Miles. I was talking to Larry Goldings and I asked him that question. He said, I think it was Larry Goldings. He said, I'll choose Miles, but he'd probably fire me, right away, or say something, that would hurt my feelings right away. So what do you got coming up? I know you're going out on the road going to Europe with Immanuel and the quartet almost for a month. Is that right? Coming up?
Pretty much for a month, more or less.
Yeah.
I got that. Right after that, I'm hosting the SWR New Jazz Meeting. And I got a bunch of great musicians: Kayvon Gordon, Henry Frazier, Nicole Glover, Kelly Vandiver, and Adam O'Farrell. And we're just gonna see what we come up with. I'm gonna bring in some stuff, and I'm trying to keep it loose. I'm definitely trying to keep it a collaboration. But I love all those musicians, and I haven't had the opportunity to play at as much as I would like with a lot of them. So, and I got that. I'm touring with Zoh Amba in January and February. Great tenor saxophonist I really enjoy playing with.
Yeah.
I'm working on mixing and mastering a new trio album right now.
Oh, right on.
Which I'm very proud of. I don't like the phrase proud of, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm very happy with it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got coming up.
Yeah, right on.
Some composing and trying to get my rent paid and all that.
Yeah, I hear you. So you mind if I hit you with some kind of rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Most memorable show you've ever attended?
I'll pick one. The first time I saw Brian Blade at the Jazz Standard, because I hadn't checked him out before, so I was completely not prepared. It was the Fellowship, and they played their songs, and yeah, definitely felt an out of body experience there.
Right on. Favorite venue to play?
I obviously love the Village Vanguard. I also really love Mesro. Mesro is just, both of those places are really special places to play.
Yeah, right on. And nice that you're right. They're right there in your new hometown too. Not so much new anymore. What pisses you off?
Oh man, a lot of things. People not taking music seriously, especially when they're playing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of practices to help you deal with the BS of life and the slings and arrows? Do you meditate, or is it always music? Or is there any other practices that you have that you go
Yeah.
to help you deal,
I'm a
when things are tough?
I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus, so I spend a lot of time praying and reading the Bible, and that's kind of I used prayer. It's a funny, weird way to say it, but like prayer is a way for me to check in with what my priorities as a follower of Jesus actually are, and
Hmm.
often they're very different from the short-term reactions I'm having in the moment. And I also do some meditation,
Hmm.
and music is a great practice because
Yes.
I am required to be fully in the moment, and so that's meditation.
Yeah. Right
So
on.
music is definitely meditation for me too.
Yeah. One of the things I do is I teach meditation, and when sometimes I think people confuse prayer with meditation, and I usually tell them, hey, if prayer is talking to God, meditation is listening. I think resonates with people somewhat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what might surprise people about you? That maybe something people don't know about you, or that maybe you have a guilty pleasure or something that you're willing to share that people might, even people who know you might say, "Wow, I didn't know that about Micah."
Uh, I think a lot of them would be surprised to know that I'm pretty insecure and I don't know if I have what it takes.
Now, it probably won't do them.
People act like I don't have it, and it's like, nah, man. Yeah.
It's in a way, I had this urge to try to convince you, man, you have it. But
Thanks.
on the other hand, I look at Frizzell, and he's in his 70s and he still says he's not sure, about
Yeah.
himself. So maybe
Yeah.
that's not such a bad thing. Uh, the last two questions I have for you, I s- you tipped off maybe what you're going to answer on one of them, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think happens when we die? We've lost a lot of people through COVID, and we've all experienced loss. And it's something, as I'm getting older, I'm well into my 60s, and lost a lot of people, man. And it's one of those really curious mysteries of life, because it happens to all of us. We know what's going to happen. It happens every day, and yet when it does happen, it's so profound
Yeah.
and so mysterious to me. What do you have ideas or beliefs about what happens when you die?
Very very vague beliefs. I don't believe that we end. I or yeah, I don't believe that we end. Apart from that, I kind of just leave it up to God. I don't know
Hmm.
the details. And I think in the Bible, he's vague about those details for a reason.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. One, I think, important follow-up question to that I'd like to ask people is, are you okay with not knowing?
I have to be.
I know you have to be.
What's my other? Oh, but am I?
Yeah, but are you? I mean, is it something that bothers you, or are you're fine just saying, "No, I'm fine. I won't know. I don't know, and that's okay."
Well, why would I not be fine with it?
Well, man, I think it's probably a question that's caused a lot of pain and um, probably persecution, because people want to hold on to some specific belief and codify it, and then make that the you know whether it's religion, a specific religion, or a specific belief, and want to hold on to it. Where I think a more wise approach is, we don't know. I have beliefs, I have ideas, I have hopes, but I don't know. A lot of people are not comfortable with that, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
All right. Last question. When you are dead and gone, what do you hope people say about you?
I mean, I hope they don't complain. I don't. No, they can't. I honestly don't care. I don't really
Okay.
care. I'll be gone. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Also, man, most people are wrong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I know what a lot of people are saying about you now, which is you're making some beautiful music, and I really appreciate you taking this time to connect today. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing the quartet, and I'm hoping to get out to see you guys sometime soon. I wish you all the best, and thank you again so much for
Yeah.
spending this time with me, man.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Take care.